up to light candles for us.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lights give light to all who behold us. As our brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Okay. There's a lot of wax on the candle. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who houses us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. All right, Neely, I'll invite you up next to lead us in Kiddush.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai, brucha atah Shekhinah, Eloteinu ruach haolam, borei pari hagafel.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, brucha atah Shekhinah, Eloteinu ruach haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho, b'ahava uvratzon chinkilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikroe kodesh, zecher litziyat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidarshta, im kol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, hilchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch Kadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Blessed are you, source of the universe, source of our very being, source of the breath of all life. Thank you for giving us this mitzvah, this commandment to bless this holy wine, this fruit of the vine, in gladness and in honor of this Shabbat. Amen, amen, amen.
Amen, Selah. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, folks, we're going to continue on to page 124. And I'll invite you to read with me in English. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We'll continue forward onto page 138, Flachado D. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, la la la, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'eliti la lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi makor haberacha merosh mikadem nesucha sof maseh b'machashavetechi lalecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech עיר מלוכה ומצאי מתוך ההפכה רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה והוא יחמול עלייכם ללכה דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה לה 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 פני שבת נקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה לה 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 פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה לה 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 פני שבת נקבלה. We're returning now to page 140 for Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי עשור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בכינור מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון כי שמחתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך רנן מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. All right, folks, We're going to turn to 142 now. Shalom Aleichem is very much a song about, is in some respects very much a song about being prepared. The story behind the song is this midrash, this belief that when people are coming home for Shabbat and getting ready to sit down at the meal, that there's two angels that essentially accompany us, just like there are essentially, in this kind of way of thinking, two angels that are always accompanying us. There's the angel that looks at everything good that we do and says, yay, hooray, more of that. And there's the angel that's looking at everything bad that we do or everything we've failed to do and says, yeah, maybe a little bit more of that, right? And so really what's going on with this song, right, is it's a celebration of our state of readiness for Shabbat, right? And I think there's an element of that which could be said to be that it's a song about celebrating our state of readiness, whatever that might be, right? How I am going into Shabbat this week may be a little bit different from how I am going into Shabbat next week. But in an ideal world, I should always be able to salute the better angels of my nature that are able to nod in approval, right? With the preparations I've managed to do, with the bit of Shabbat that I've managed to prepare for myself here in this week. And this particular Shabbat is a Shabbat where we're kind of entering into not only Shabbat, but right into Passover on the other side. So there's an element of preparation for that. And so for this song, Shalom Aleichem, it's really kind of a moment here, I think, to honor preparations that we've made for the special occasions, for Shabbat, for Passover, and to be able to really genuinely honor those preparations, right? Whatever nature those preparations might have been this year, however we may have managed to do it, or might have found it difficult to do, we're moving into a sacred space. And ultimately, I think there's something valuable to consider that those angels are waiting for us, whatever we happen to be bringing with us into that space tonight. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Malach Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Polachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right, folks. We're turning to 145 now, and I'll invite you to rise with us if you're able and comfortable doing so. As we get ready for the Baruch Hu, let's read together in English. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. Page 146. Baruch et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam voed. Please feel free to have a seat. And we'll turn to page 149 now, and let's read together again in English. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Page 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokveinu uvkumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam moed ki hem chayenu ve'orach yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'alala v'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We're turning to page 152 now, and I invite you to rise if you're able and comfortable doing so for the opening of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Okay, feel free to have a seat, and we'll continue on the next page, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. All right, folks, let's turn to page 157 now, and again we'll read together in English. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, no tehilot hosefela, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zelianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam haed, v'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, uge'alom yad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. Going to turn to 161 now. Let's read together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. All right, folks, let's turn to 162 now. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Amekadeshei Shvi, Mekadeshei Shvi Shabbat, Kulam Yisbehu Veyitangu Mituvecha Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, Shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, v'hashvi ratzita bo v'kideshto Shabbat, Chemnad yamim oto karata Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher lemase b'reshit Shabbat, zecher lemase b'reshit Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malchutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. All right, folks, we're going to turn now to page 164. And I'm going to invite you to rise again with me, if you're able and comfortable doing so, for the opening of the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftachu v'yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. 166. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידה מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. All right, feel free to have a seat. We're going to continue on 171, and let's read together. Days pass, and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Going to turn now to 173, and again we'll read. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. 174. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam b'ahava tekabel, utehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov lechol korav, pnei levadecha v'chonenu, shefoch ruchacha aleinu, v'techezena einenu b'shuvcha l'tzion berachamim, baruch ata Adonai, hamachazir shchinato l'tzion. All right, folks. We're on 176 now, and as we usually do for the blessing of Hoda'ah, Thanksgiving and Acknowledgement, we're going to let folks raise your hands if you want to share with us something you're feeling particularly grateful about this week, something that you've experienced in your life as a blessing. And if you raise your hand, we'll get Robin will get the microphone around to you, and you can share it with us.
We like chaplaincy work this week. The room that some of you have seen when Chicky comes here, we were doing.
Just a second, what's up?
I believe you have the audio set to your laptop and not the mic system.
Huh?
I'm noticing it's different, but not a problem when you're the one speaking.
Okay, well, let me take a look and see if that's a thing that's happening. we'll just have to kind of make do. Okay. Yep. Apologies, folks.
And so I'm grateful that my friends and family have been calling me, and those that haven't will get a call from me.
Well, I have one. We have been setting up a small aquarium at work. And today we went to get the fish for the aquarium, a fish, 2 frogs, and a snail. And while we were in there, I saw a fish that I fell in love with, so I ended up getting a fish.
Oh,
Completely out of the blue. So
very
I'm
cool.
very happy that I went, yeah, because I fell in love with this fish.
I hope you and your fish will be very happy. Was there anyone else who wanted to share? Okay, Sandy.
I just wanted to share that I'm very, very grateful that my daughter and our daughter-in-law is doing both Seders. So I don't have a lot of work to do. One of the things I do, I have turkey defrosting in the refrigerator for Sunday night's dinner. And I made the charoset, so I did my part.
Being able to come to a Seder without necessarily hosting yourself is one of life's great joys.
Yeah.
Maureen?
We lost our kitty today. We had to let her go. And I'm really, really blessed that we had 15 fun-filled, hilarious, snuggly years with her. She was a really special girl, and we're going to miss her, but I'm so glad we had that time together.
So sorry to hear you lost your cat, Maureen. Folks, I think that's everybody who wanted to share. So I'm going to share the screen again real quick. All right. And down at the bottom, Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. All right, we're turning to page, yeah, there we were. Okay. So we will take a moment now for our own private prayers and reflections, and then we'll join back together with Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imeru. Folks, we're going to turn forward now to page 371 for the Misha Berach for healing. This week, we are remembering in our healing prayers Raphael Alietti, David Ben Esther, Carrie Bennett, Thomas Brophy, Tom Brown, Louis Calstatera, Tegan Christopherson, Lou Ellen Egan, Tom Furch, Lauren Furman, Sandra Goodman, David Hecht, Sheila Hickok, Sarit Katsu, Reverend Rebecca Kindig, Saren Kersheimer, Helen Lewis, Jim Mason, John McFeely, Rowan Nicciolino, Jeremy Orden, Manny Orden, and Robin Orden, Maxine Oringer, Ken Roberts, Jim Rosenstein, Sherry Schwartz, Shmuel Everett, Ruven Mibet Avraham Basara, Jennifer Stile, Rabbi Lance Sussman, Timothy Swindell, Dick Watanabe, Rhonda Waxman, Elena Witter, Phyllis Young, Eugenia Zaroli, and Jaeger Zopp. And if you'd like to add anyone's name to our healing prayers this evening, just raise your hand and we'll get the mic around to you and stuff. Rose Hamilton.
Elvin Barshmo, Emmett Ruvain.
Elvin Barshmuel, Emmett Ruvain. Liam Mead, Jay Stevo, and Karen Mead. Carrie King, sorry. Was there anyone on Zoom with their hand up? I can't see everybody all at the same time. Okay. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimahotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Praying for a refuah shlema, a complete and speedy recovery for all those that we're holding in our hearts this evening. All right, folks. Here, before I launch into the Devar Torah for this evening, I just want to try one more thing real quick to see if this, for some weird reason, fixes our odd microphone problem, because I generally do want folks in the on our Zoom and in the room to be able to hear each other properly. So one second. If that, yes, that should be registering some audio. I have no idea why that would have worked, but it did. Different USB port. It's like magic. I don't know. Anyhow. Well, what happened there? Oh, okay, fine. I'm sorry. At this point, everything, I'm like, it's another problem. Okay. So here's the thing. The Shabbat before the beginning of Passover is known as Shabbat Hagadol, or the Great Shabbat. And traditionally, this was a time for rabbis to teach their congregations about the laws of Passover observance, so they could be ready prior to the festival. For us, I think it might be an opportunity to talk about the nature of ritual observance as such, and its meaning within liberal Judaism. Traditionally, Jewish religion tends to ground all observance on the basis of a theology of divine command. The Torah and all its commandments are given to Moses by God at Sinai, and it is the obligation of all Jews, descendants of the generation that accepted upon itself the yoke of heaven's rule, to observe the commandments to the best of our ability. For the rabbis, that obligation extends also to the oral tradition, which is understood to have itself been handed down at Sinai along with the written Torah. From this point of view, all commandments, whether ritual or ethical in nature, are equally obligatory for the same reason, because they are part of the Jewish people's covenant with God, the direct commands of the divine. For liberal Jews who reject the historical premises upon which that viewpoint is based, the matter isn't quite that simple. If the Torah is a historical document, the work of human rather than divine authorship, then it's not immediately apparent why a body of norms and religious practices that were adopted by our ancestors more than 2,000 years ago should be binding upon us today. An argument can be made that those commandments that are ethical in nature continue to be relevant, specifically insofar as they are consistent with what reason and conscience dictate. But then what of the ritual observances that make up so much of Jewish life, but don't follow in a clear or obvious way from a universal set of ethical principles? Now, one way to look at this is to regard the Jewish people as a corporate body in much the same manner as a modern nation state. Just as nations establish laws and systems of government that are binding on their citizens and on people living under their jurisdiction, so too the Jewish people has its own body of laws that we call the Torah. There are two problems with this argument. The first one is that a system of national law depends on the coercive power of the state to enforce those laws when people don't obey them. Judaism as such has not had that kind of coercive power over Jews since the time of the Second Temple, possibly a little earlier even. And the second problem is that modern legal systems, at least those that we tend to regard as legitimate, are meant to be reflective of the will of the people. They're subject to revision through a democratic process. But Jewish law, arising out of a theology of divine commandment and phrased in those terms, doesn't provide a system of adding new laws or revoking old ones. The only process that we've got for this that comes out of traditional Judaism is the halachic process of rabbinic reinterpretation. But that's kind of limited in terms of its ability to actually put an end to any practice clearly grounded in the Torah. There's a great deal of flexibility to the halakhic system, but not infinite flexibility. And ultimately, that flexibility is not grounded on a recognition of the autonomy of the Jewish people to make its own choices, but rather on a process of interpretation and reinterpretation that ultimately sees itself as being grounded in the text, and the text itself as being fundamental, foundational, and unchangeable. So instead, let's look at it this way. Ritual is one aspect of what we generally call culture. Culture doesn't typically carry the kind of coercive power that law does, but it's a powerful force nevertheless because of the way that it shapes our hearts and our lives, determining many aspects of what seems right to us, what seems appropriate, and even what seems beautiful. As a manifestation of Jewish culture, ritual provides us with a set of shared practices that encode values that are important to us as a community and that are infused with meaning as we engage with them. The precise meaning that any two people are going to find in a particular ritual is going to maybe differ. The meaning that I find may be different from the meaning that you find. But the fact of its being a shared practice, something that we are sharing together in the same space, allows us to have a meaningful conversation about the values that are contained within the ritual and about the meanings that we're finding in it. In this regard, the Passover Seder is the perfect illustration of the role of ritual in Jewish life, because that ritual itself is designed to encourage this kind of thoughtful conversation about the values and meaning that are contained within the ritual. Within that framework, there's a tremendous amount of space for finding a range of different meanings, from the universal to the particular, from the personal to the political, from the historical to the contemporary, and so on. And as liberal Jews, we've got a tremendous amount of leeway for elaborating on or adjusting that framework to allow us to engage with those meanings in different ways. But what ultimately holds all of that together, all those possibilities together, is the shared nature of the experience, the ritual grammar of that experience that we are engaged in, that gives us a shared common cultural vocabulary that links those meanings and values together in some kind of a meaningful conversation. And so the questions that I've brought for you tonight to consider are these. Number one, what is a ritual that you find particularly meaningful? And what are the meanings that you find in that ritual? What's a meaning that you find in that ritual? And the second question, if you want to respond to this instead, how do we, as liberal Jews, navigate the tension between the necessarily shared nature of Jewish ritual? It's got to be something we share in order to find meaning in it and have conversations about that meaning. But we have to balance that with our own need to adjust the ritual to make it meaningful. And how do we find that balance? And where does that balance stand for you? So those are the questions tonight. If you've got a response that you want to mention, just raise your hand and we'll get the mic around to you. It should be working at this point, I think, for everybody to hear everybody.
Throughout my life, I think it's really changed, the different rituals I've found meaningful. So in the last let me think, 3 years, I started to keep kosher in my house. And I have found that ritual and that observance to be extremely meaningful to me. In a way, I mean, I certainly didn't grow up keeping kosher. It's not something I ever thought I would do. So, but I really like the idea that, well, not every Jew could come to my house because some people wouldn't find my level of kashrut acceptable, but more people would be welcome and feel more comfortable eating in my home. And connecting, is a connection to like my grandparents who did keep kosher and people before that, it skipped some generations. So I think that it's evolving through your life, or at least my life it has.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that that's a good point, that what rituals we find meaningful are definitely something that's may shift throughout our lives. I thought I saw Rabbi Rachel's hand up then.
When I think about how I look at ritual, I look at it from a very Reconstructionist point of view, which is looking at each of the things and trying to find a way that a particular thing is meaningful for me, which would be a way to observe Shabbat, a way to observe Kashrut, a way to observe particular things that, I'm like Holly in a way that there are people I would tell you don't want to eat at my house because it's not your level of Kashrut. And in some ways, I consider myself Shomer Shabbat with that, but Orthodox people would laugh at me because I'm here and I drove a car. But I try to pick the things and be consistent with what I will do and not do as a way of then creating meaning within the ritual itself.
Thank you. And I think that's a good point. I like the word practice for talking about this because I like the idea that practice makes perfect. Aviva is posting in chat. I find particular meaning in keeping kosher for Passover. I like having to give thought to what I eat every day for 8 days. Especially as a vegan, it's really hard. It makes me feel connected to Jews who have been doing that for generations. Thanks, Aviva. Thanks for sharing that. Did I see it? Oh, yes.
Many years ago, a lot of years ago, when I was a child, my grandparents had a Seder. They had 10 children, so there were about 30 of us there, and it was a time for gathering. We don't have that many children now, but over the years, we did have Seder where the family came together. And 1 or 2 years, I made it in the nursing homes, and everybody enjoyed that. So it's a time for gathering and getting close to family.
Thank you. Yeah, rituals can often be a way to bring us together and make and make an excuse, if nothing else, for a get together.
So one ritual that I particularly find meaningful is saying the bedtime Kriya Shema, the whole chunk from the Koran Siddur.
Thank you.
I think for me, the change and transformation has been about going from taking on rituals to deepening into the ritual. So I think for me, a piece that's important is the pausing and the opening to the experience of the ritual so that I can connect into the Kedusha, into the holiness of it.
Thank you. Did I see your hands? Okay.
So I just want to say a word about the tradition of the Seder, because I think for me, I never realized in running the Seders that it had some deep meaning to my granddaughter, who is now 19. And she's kind of quiet. She doesn't say that much about it. But this year we all got together in March when my family could get together. And she called up and she said, I want you to have a Seder because I'm bringing my special friend. And I want that friend to experience a Seder. And I said, really? I was so surprised. And she said, oh, yes. And I want all the traditional things on the table. So I'm saying this because I was amazed that sometimes I overlook what's meaningful to them. And this made me think twice about it.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard even to know what others are finding meaningful until suddenly, something kind of comes to light in a surprising way.
The first ritual observance aspect that I observed in my own home was lighting Shabbat candles. So that's very meaningful every week for me because it's like that first.
Yeah, absolutely. I find something really meaningful as well about welcoming in Shabbat. It's like a very important kind of moment for me also, for especially because there's something really important about creating these kind of moments of sacredness in our lives, and Shabbat is kind of archetypal for that. And being able to kind of set that off right to begin as you intend to go along is a really cool moment to just kind of experience that kind of little bit of separation in the week. It's a lovely feeling. Do I have a hand up on screen? I'm not seeing you. Oh, sorry. Thanks. Elliot, as a Reformed Jew, the particular inclusive manner in which we practice ritual connects me to all of Jewry in a positive way. Yeah, thanks for that, Elliot. That's a good point. I think it's not just about the what, it's about the how and the who, right? Who gets to actually participate, who we welcome in. Thank you. All right. Anybody else have a comment? I'm not seeing any other hands up. All right, let's wrap that up with that. So yeah, I think what I want to leave us with is exactly that feeling of finding the moments and the rituals that are meaningful to us, right? Because not all of us practice exactly the same set of rituals. Judaism gives us an almost never-ending, cornucopia of ritual to engage with. And ultimately, it's about finding the moments and the points where that we can make a connection in, that are meaningful to us, and kind of building ourselves outward from that. And I think that that's, as long as we can engage in ways that are productive of meaning for us, and that can welcome other people into that meaningful conversation about values and about meaning, then we're doing it in a good way. We're doing it in a right way. Ultimately, it's about finding the points of connection and the ways in which ritual and other aspects of Jewish practice can help build a richer and more meaningful sense of our lives and our place in the world. So let's continue on with our ritual for this evening. Oh, I saw, yeah, you're right. Okay. So Anne Marie is saying, as someone who is converting, I'm creating those rituals. Yeah, absolutely. There's a process of kind of building that you have to go through as you kind of, start to lead a Jewish life. And then this is from Susan. I think she meant for it to go to everyone and not just me. Passover was always the highlight of the Jewish calendar for me. It was the time when my parents and I went to my grandparents' apartment in Brooklyn, from which emanated the wonderful cooking aromas and the chance to visit with my cousins, uncles, and aunts who gathered there. Thanks, Susan, for sharing that with us tonight. All right, folks, let's turn back to the Siddur. And we are going to turn to page 587. I'd like to invite you to rise with me if you're able and comfortable doing so for Aleinu. And Roz, can you come up and open the ark for us? Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gidula l'yotzeh b'reishit, shehu sam chelkeinu liyached et shemo, v'gohar aleinu lamlit malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'bichavim u'modim, Lifnei Melech Malkei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Folks, feel free to have a seat. We're continuing on 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. All right, folks. We turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. This week in our congregation, we are mourning the deaths of Fern Sternberg and Vivian Kalabsa. And we are remembering as well the yahrzeits of Herbert Abramson, Irving Bailey, Jesse Bussard, Anita Rita Leventman, Barry Shabbos, Ada Stallman, Sybil Holman Goldenberg, Eileen Hoblitz, and Kenneth Unger. Please rise if you are able and comfortable doing so for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ul'olmei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal Shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May their memories be for a blessing. Please feel free to have a seat. So, announcement-wise, first and foremost, Chag Pesach, Sameach, we're about to start Passover. We've had a lot of people who signed up for the community Seder on Sunday afternoon, evening. So glad that people did. Looking forward to it. We've got a couple of things coming up over the Passover week. Tuesday, April 15th is going to be the Social Action Committee meeting. That's at 7 o'clock in the evening. Wednesday, we've got our regular adult ed class. We are still on Jewish mysticism. We've been looking at the Zohar recently. That's kind of where we're stuck in right at the moment. And as usual, I'll make a plug for we are doing for people who need a little taste of ritual throughout their week. We are doing evening prayers during the weekdays on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So if you want to come in and join us for that, it's always a cool scene. That's at 5:30 on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. For other stuff that's coming up, Tuesday, April 22nd is going to be the Community Yom HaShoah program. It's a Federation program, but it's actually going to be here at Temple Concord. So definitely encourage people to come to that if you can manage. And for other information and stuff that's coming up, take a look at Nerod. I believe that just came out just recently. So yeah, there's always something going on here at Temple Concord. All right, we're going to finish up tonight on page 625 with the Don Olam, and then we'll head over into the library, not the social hall, because the social hall is already set up for Passover, for some Passover treats and to hang out and chat. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado imloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshilo leachbira beli reshit beli tachlit v'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'hu eli v'chai goali B'tzur chavli b'yetzara ve'hu nisi umanos li menat kosi b'yom ekra b'yado hafkid ruchi me'edishan ve'yaira ve'imruhi geviyati Adonai li Velo ira. So ordinarily, this is the time at which I would make motzi, but we've already got everything set up for Passover, so I'm afraid we don't have any challah tonight. So instead, I will limit myself to saying thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's so lovely to see you all here, and Shabbat Shalom and Aziz and Pesach.
Hag Sameach, everybody.
Hag Sameach.
Sameach.
How have you been?
Shabbat Shalom.
Ah,
Shabbat Shalom. Yes.